8 million lives in limbo. The immigration bill that could change everything. For over a decade, millions of undocumented immigrants have lived in the shadows, working, raising families, and contributing to America's economy, while constantly fearing that a single traffic stop or a knock at the door could change their lives forever. Now, a new bill in the U.S. Senate could be their turning point, or their final disappointment. This isn't a minor policy update. The Fair Immigration Modernization Act, officially S.2743, is one of the most ambitious immigration reform proposals in decades. If passed, it could grant legal status to over 8 million undocumented immigrants who've been in the U.S. since before January 1, 2015. But the bill's survival in Congress is anything but certain. The core of S.2743. Under this proposal, undocumented immigrants who can prove they've lived continuously in the U.S. for at least 10 years, maintained a clean criminal record, paid taxes, and demonstrated basic English proficiency could apply for permanent residency. What makes this bill particularly impactful is its two-pronged approach. It not only addresses undocumented immigration, but also attempts to fix the massive green card backlog by recapturing unused visas from previous years. A move that could speed up legal immigration for hundreds of thousands already waiting in line. Why this bill stands out. Unlike DACA or the DREAM Act, which targeted specific groups like childhood arrivals, S.2743 is far broader. It includes all long-term undocumented immigrants who meet its strict requirements. It's also built with safeguards, cutoff dates, proof of presence, and compliance measures to limit fraud and make it more appealing to moderates. And this time, legal immigrants aren't ignored. The visa recapture provision directly benefits those stuck in backlogs, whether they're family-based applicants, skilled workers, or diversity lottery winners. The political battlefield. While the bill is still in the Senate Judiciary Committee, the atmosphere is tense. Democrats are pushing for swift movement, knowing the political calendar is unforgiving. Moderates on both sides are weighing their options, but Republican leadership has made its opposition clear, calling the bill an amnesty package that undermines border security. Behind the scenes, lobbying from immigrant advocacy groups is intense. Business coalitions argue that legalization would boost the economy, expand the tax base, and stabilize industries like agriculture and hospitality. Opponents, however, warn that it could encourage more illegal migration and strain public services in already overburdened states. What the opposition says. Republicans and conservative commentators have rallied around three main arguments. Precedent risk. Legalizing millions now, they argue, will send a signal to future migrants that overstaying or entering illegally will eventually be forgiven. Economic strain. Critics claim cities already struggling with housing and public resources would be hit hardest. Border control. Some say it undermines years of strict enforcement measures and border security investments. The reality for immigrants. For those who might qualify, the clock is ticking, but acting too early could be risky. The bill hasn't passed, and there's no official application process yet. That hasn't stopped scammers from offering fake pre-registration services, charging thousands for fraudulent promises of a green card. Anyone hoping to apply if this bill becomes law will need a paper trail, tax returns, leases, pay stubs, school records, proving uninterrupted presence in the U.S. since before 2015. The longer someone has been here, the more critical it is to have records organized and ready. My own observation. If this bill succeeds, it will not just alter the legal status of millions, it will reshape communities. Legalization would mean more stable households, higher home ownership rates, and stronger local economies. However, it would also challenge federal agencies to process millions of applications without collapsing under the weight. The speed and fairness of that process will determine whether this law is remembered as a turning point or another flawed experiment in immigration reform. The visa recapture provision. This part of the bill is a potential game changer even for those who are here legally but stuck in limbo. Every year, tens of thousands of green cards go unused, not because of lack of demand, but because of bureaucratic delays. These lost visas could be recaptured and reissued, clearing out years of backlog in family-based and employment-based categories. For legal immigrants who've watched their cases stagnate, this clause could mean finally moving forward after years or even decades of waiting. The tight timeline. The legislative clock doesn't stop for political negotiations. The bill has until the end of the current congressional session, likely December 2025, before it expires and would have to be reintroduced from scratch. Advocates are pushing for a Senate floor vote before Thanksgiving, knowing that the 2026 election cycle will make bipartisan compromise even harder. If the bill stalls past this year, the opportunity could vanish for the foreseeable future, especially under the current administration's hardline immigration stance. The stakes if it fails. Failure would mean a return to the status quo, millions remaining in the shadows, deportations continuing at high rates, and green card backlogs stretching further into the future. It would also be another signal that meaningful immigration reform remains out of reach in a deeply divided Congress. Final thoughts. The Fair Immigration Modernization Act is bold, controversial, and urgently timed. For the 8 million undocumented immigrants who meet its requirements, it represents a rare chance at security and legitimacy. For legal immigrants stuck in backlogs, it offers overdue progress. But the path to becoming law is steep. Whether it survives will depend on political will, public pressure, and the willingness of lawmakers to put aside rhetoric for practical solutions. Until then, staying informed, avoiding scams, and preparing documentation are the safest steps anyone can take.